We're very, very delighted to be speaking to you today on our very first live product webinar right after last week's launch. My name is Martin Mahler. I'm this Astrato CEO, and today we have the whole product management on the call to deliver product goodness and greatness. From my left, Alexander Thor, waving in, Piers, Batchelor on the bottom left, and Martin Kierkegaard on the bottom right. Cool. This is our very, very first, personally, my very first LinkedIn live. So I don't know what the etiquette is. All I know is I can disappear, I can move around, it can't be cut anymore, I can play songs by Kanye West so they cannot be removed. But I think it has a fun character. It's a little bit informal. So I really hope that we're going to make it exciting for you, interesting, but also fun. So today it's about talking about Astrato. So of course we had a BIG Unveiling a while back, 2 months ago, and a lot has happened ever since, especially on the product side. For those of you familiar with Vislit, we released on a very, very fast cadence. So we thought, hey, lots has changed. And so today we want to talk to you and walk you through our latest and greatest product features and updates, as well as the roadmap. Now, not all of you were part of a BIG Unveiling webinar 2 months ago. So I want to do a very, very small recap what Astrato is. So for those of you who saw the launch either on the press, on the wire, or on LinkedIn, or social media, and have no idea, what is this Astrato? Like, it has a rocket, it points to the moon, already very, very good signs, but beyond that, why do I need this? So in essence, we are basically an analytics and dashboarding solution that is based on top of SQL in the cloud, with a big key differentiator that we play the data where it lives. Now, what does it mean? So a very, very short intro to that. I think we can all agree, regardless whether you're in US, whether you're in EMEA, whether you work in the financial services sector, whether you're in telecommunications, any kind of industry, everything is moving to the cloud. Data is moving to the cloud. Of course, in the world of Astrato, since we work on top of Snowflake, data is moving into Snowflake at a rapid pace. I think even last week we've seen actually Snowflake posting their impressive metrics of, I think, 100, three-digit growth numbers and net retention, which is truly impressive for a company at that scale. Can be Snowflake, can be many other vendors, but the fact is data is moving to the cloud from your systems, from your SAP systems or elsewhere. Everything is moving to the cloud. Now, the thing is, once the data moves to the cloud, the question is, what do you next and how do you proceed? And what we are seeing happening a lot is that people take the data from the cloud and they then extract it back into really Excel, we've seen this happening, or into their on-premise systems or analytics tool for consumption, be it a Tableau enterprise system, be it a legacy other analytics tool. But you could argue, yes, the other BI vendors also have cloud solutions, but even then, what's the point of copying data from Snowflake cloud to another cloud as well? Data movement in the cloud is bad. You lose governance, you lose this scalability and the elasticity of a cloud. All the power and the greatness of Snowflake is lost the minute you take an extract away from it. So this is something that we're seeing, and we heard our beta customers complaining about it. That does not make sense to us. That's not how this is meant to be. So with this, we have built Astrato, which is a dashboarding and analytics solution that sits almost like wraps the Snowflake instance, your data in Snowflake, and it doesn't move it. It visualizes, it plays with it, it creates, and it basically turns all the charts based on your Snowflake data on the fly without the data ever leaving the source. And that's in essence what we're doing with Live Query and play the data where it lives. That's our key value proposition, and I think also where the data industry is moving towards to. So with this tiny little demo, and a quick refresher for those of you who have never heard of Astrato. So all you got to do really is you can go to, let me open another tab, you go to astrato.io, and this is available to you all right now. Sorry. Here we go. And by the way, since if you are on this live webinar, you can actually connect to it yourself while we're doing this. So nothing stops you from having two tabs open and literally explore Astrato as we speak and demo. The website is now live. The product is live. You can either sign up by clicking on the link here on the top right, up to you. And it brings you to the login screen. There's nothing more that you need to do. You can either sign up with a new email, password, and username account, or you can use your social logins, even LinkedIn, if that's what you want. So in this case, I'm going to sign up using Google, and I'm going to use my Martin Mahler Google Mail account. I continue, and voila, with just one click, it logs me in, and I'm within my very own personal Astrato instance. And to make sure that your Astrato instance is not empty when you come in, we have populated with a couple of really, really cool example workbooks, dashboards that you can open up, and you can see the power and the interactivity of Astrato as you like. You can even, these are the so-called demo assets. You can view them. You can take a copy of them. They're very flexible. You can even delete them entirely if you want to, up to you. It's not just the demo assets that we have. We also have created a demo data connection. Not everyone has a Snowflake instance, wants to connect to their Snowflake instance right immediately. It's not a problem. We have a instance here that you can connect, that you can browse, and you can explore on your own if you want to. In case you do want to connect to your own data, because that's where you get the real experience, it's as easy as just adding the Snowflake account URL into this data connection environment. Put your credential, and by the way, this is the same screen that you may have in any other technology that is trying to connect to Snowflake. So very seamless, straightforward, and voila, I'm connected, literally. I can select the database. So, and if you are more interested in segregating your compute or choosing a specific role, you have all the flexibility to do so here. But what's more interesting is actually getting to your data in Snowflake. So as a matter of fact, I'm now live within my instance. I can see all my schemas that have been defined on the left-hand side. I can browse through my data as if I'm just going to a supermarket, and I can pick and choose whatever I'm interested in analyzing. I can have a quick kind of like overview just to make sure I pick and select the right data. And this is a live query returning the live results. And with this, go directly almost to creating my first workbook. But before I do that, any kind of powerful BI or analytics tool recognizes and addresses what we call the last mile analysis. Just before going to the dashboard, I want to change perhaps my field names. I want to make them a little bit more business friendly. I maybe want to be able to create a couple of metrics that are going to be reused across my whole dashboard and multiple times. So in this case, sales, typical, obviously, best example to showcase any kind of analytics tool. So you can create here the last mile things. And the last bit, which is actually super duper important for anything that is live query, the data in Snowflake comes in tables, which is great, but you need to establish a relationship that connects them with each other. In technical terms, I had to create joins, but that scares most citizen analysts because joins are technical. So what we've done is we've created a nice little layer here that suggests joins for you. All you got to do is either select the ones that you're think apply, or you can apply them all in one click. So without writing any SQL, I've established almost a semantic layer on top of the data that I'm about to analyze. And that's it. I go directly into my workbook, and I can begin the journey of building dashboards, building charts on top of data in Snowflake. Again, one important aspect, and that is a reiterating theme, is that we have familiarity. The key term, dimensions and measures, is make sure that if you use other technologies, that you do not feel you're facing a learning curve here. For somebody who's familiar with other existing either tools or even Excel, you should be able to use this with no training required whatsoever. And voila, with just a couple of clicks, data in Snowflake to meaningful analysis in live query. So this is a mini short demo. And now from my perspective, again, I'm maybe repeating a couple of things, but it's better that you know all these things than not having missed them out. But you always have the ability to look at a chart and inspect the underlying SQL that's being generated, even as far as clicking on it, which would take you right into Snowflake, into your very individual instance. I'm not going to bore you with that aspect, because today it's about product and features and roadmap. So one thing that is super important, where I'm personally very, very focused on within the product team here, is on the last mile analysis. So my goal is to empower analysts or even users to be able to do very lightweight transformation within the data view editor without feeling limited by the data source in this particular case. So one example is the ability to add custom SQL if you want to. So if the data doesn't come up in a shape or form that you want to analyze the data, you will be able to execute a custom SQL that will then surface that result as just another table into your data view for analytics purposes. So enabling you to be agile, however, without losing any kind of governance and control, because everything gets executed within the world of Snowflake. So, and as your data view becomes more advanced, you have the ability to reorganize things, to save, store the views. More of these things are coming in that particular area. So with this, I'm moving back into slides. I'm going to show you some of the things that we are working on today, and that will come into the product either in the short term or in the long term, together with feedback and also advice from your side. So yeah, we're going to go in a round robin. I'll start first very briefly because I've already shown my stuff, and then the others will continue and pick up. So I'm mostly responsible for the data view experience and the so-called last mile analysis. And one thing that we are now working to evolve is to introduce more methods, to introduce more custom data into last mile analysis. So having the ability, for example, to upload a CSV file into Snowflake and use your CSV file as part of your analysis. And another very interesting aspect that I personally was using a lot in the world of ClickView was to create mapping files that doesn't really become part of the data source, but it's somehow like a custom view for me myself to segment or bucket certain dimensional values into groups, such as, for example, saying Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. I want to call them my DACH region. So little last-minute edits like these we'll be able to support by introducing so-called inline mapping tables that, again, will be pushed down to Snowflake for consumption. So empowering that last mile analysis to enable the hyper agility without, again, losing any governance, because the data is being played where it lives, which is within Snowflake and never outside. Another interesting aspect is data profiling. So as I'm selecting data, I want to get more information around the data that I'm about to pick, such as how many distinct values they are, the distribution, how many null values. What's the point of selecting a table when it's empty, for example, or when the values are nonsense? So getting that kind of intelligence ahead of the point where you're creating the workbook is critical, and this is something that we're looking to introduce hopefully mid-term. So in the we say mid-term, so Q1, Q2 is kind of like our time frame regarding that. The last bit, and this is what I want to see your kind of input, is data lineage. What happens if I change a data set within Snowflake? Will it break Astrato? Will it break my workbooks? What if I delete a field within my data view? How will I know which objects are going to be affected? Data lineage and control is key, and is something that we're very, very excited that we have scoped out and we are started already working on, to give you the ability to always see where the data is being moved, where it's being used, and having full control on knowing how to change things, but also being prevented from making uncontrolled changes either to your workbook, to your data view, or even within Snowflake. This is the biggest nightmare of extracts and replication, is when extracts being taken, something changes, and you have no idea where in the whole kind of like pipeline something got broke. So these are the things on the data view editor that we're working on in the mid to long term and the next couple of months. Very excited about that. But we all agree the beautiful and the compelling thing, that's what users enjoy most, are visualizations. So with this, I'm handing over to Piers to show us more about chart goodness he's working on.
Cool. Thank you very much, Martin. Welcome to Astrato Live, everybody. Here's a few of the topics I'll be talking about today, so let's go straight into a live demo straight from there. So, first things first, I have my Airbnb dashboard. It's a highly customized dashboard filled with real Airbnb data from Boston. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is the filtering capabilities. So here I've got my average price for multi-bedroom listings and also average price for single bedroom listings. So what I've done here is I've limited bedrooms based on a list of values. And I'll show you exactly how I've done that. Go into the properties panel, click onto the filter, and I've got my active filters here. I've got my field, I said it's in a list, and I've got anything that's between 2 and 5 bedrooms in my list there. And same for here. This is just looking at anything that's 0 or 1 bedroom. So it's so easy to do. It's codeless. I've just entered my values and it's done. So if you think about how this can work in other visualizations, we can focus on last 7 days, months to date, and in this particular dashboard, we can look at the top listings. So another thing I wanted to show you, also around the filtering capabilities, is the new and improved filter object. So now we have image and measure support alongside the values. So what that means for me as an analyst is that I can go in straight away and select the correct values first time round. I don't need to click around, wait for the data to update and think, oh, are these producing the correct charts for me? So I'm going to click on Agnieszka and it's gone straight to the top. I know that she's got 6 properties listed on Airbnb, lucky her. So we can take a look in there and we can see all of her properties here in the table. You can see that's conditionally formatted. I've got progress bars as well. But those are the filtering capabilities that are new to Astrato, which takes me to my next workbook that I want to show you. So I do love a branded dashboard, and a dark theme is even better. So we added more object customization in tables and charts to make this possible. So first, I want to show you how easy it is to use the new and updated properties panel. So I'll pick this chart on the right hand side, IMDb. These are looking at average IMDb scores by genre, all Netflix titles, Netflix originals. And I've clicked in here, expand the sorting and limiting section. Let me refresh that. That tab's been open for too long. So I'm back in the sorting and limiting section, and I can just simply drag to sort here, and it's all sorted by score. But what that means for me is now if I do this on both of them, I can now do analysis across my charts. So one of the features that has been added to charts is basic brushing and linking. So I can highlight the same genre across different charts, because one visualization alone doesn't tell a whole story. So if I hover over crime drama here, or documentary for example, documentary, the average score is 6.4, and there's 14 genres. It's highlighted in both charts. And now if I go down to comedy, which is just below that in this chart, I can see that, well, the score is 5.2. So just having more number of titles available has nothing to do with the average score that you're going to get. In addition to the chart features, we've got updates in tables. So tables looking great in a dark theme. I'm highlighting on hover. I've got my striped rows, and I've got my automatic conditional formatting. It's just like Excel, but of course it's always the latest data. It's connected directly to Snowflake. I've got image support in the tables as well, as you saw in the previous workbook, and I've got progress bars as well, which I'd shown there. So going back to my slides, I want to share with you the roadmap. It's split into 2 categories. So we've got visualization capabilities first and introducing the filter feedback bar in future. We're going to allow the tracking of applied filters globally across the entire workbook. With this comes in-chart filtering. So you click on a bar and it filters. It's important that you have that feedback so you know exactly what's going on, you know exactly where you are, and have all of those breadcrumbs, just like you might have on other websites. Transitions is next up. So you can see how the data changes after filtering or as data is updated and refreshed. I'll pass over to Martin after this and he'll show you that. So last of all, from capabilities is forecasting. That's one-click forecasting using ARIMA or SARIMA models, and both of those allow automatic forecasting, and if you really want to, you can define those parameters for forecasting. So that introduces no code, lightweight forecasting, no need for R or Python. It's all done in a single click. Zero learning, no new skills needed. We're also going to introduce new visualizations and controls. So even the most boring charts will be excellent, and your new controls will be just like other websites. That includes the distribution slider up top and the date picker. The slider will make it easier for you to select date ranges and numerical values, so I can say only show me sales that are between $100 and $1,000. And the date picker will make it easier to navigate through time in your dashboard. Now, over to Martin for more on the creator experience.
All right, thank you very much, Piers. And we'll jump right into it. So, my name is Martin, product manager for the analytics creation experience at Astrato, responsible for the workbook and creation experience. So, the workbook editor inside of Astrato, as you all know by now, provides a very flexible way to create beautiful visualizations based on the data you've already prepared, and doing so in a very seamless way with a no-code experience, so you can all get exactly what you want in very low time and effort. And recently we're working on some new features, which I'm sure you're all going to appreciate inside of the workbook creation experience. First one being some predefined object templates where you can kickstart your dashboarding experience. So if, for example, if you look at all these beautiful dashboards that we previously saw with Netflix and IMDb and whatnot, and you're thinking, I don't know how to do this. Well, don't worry, we got your back, because we already have some predefined templates you can start off from and start working with for some inspiration for different use cases that I'm sure you're all gonna love. And furthermore, if you created these workbooks and you want to display them on a monitor, for example, somewhere, and it's going to be in a very static environment, then we've added the capability for this to constantly refresh based on a set time period. So as the data is being cached inside of Snowflake, it's virtually free to make new queries in this cached database. So being able to just require the objects on your dashboard is basically free. I'm going to show you how to do these things just now. So I'm going to hop over into the workbook editor. And when you open up your templates, you already have these beautiful templates already created for you. So you can start kickstarting your dashboard and applying these. And all of them are going to be pre-configured, so you can just start up and configuring whatever use case you have. So for example, here I'm going to look at queries. I'm just going to change the text to queries inside of the template, change some values. So I'm going to take this number object, for example, and I'm going to look for, see how many rows I've queried, summarize that. And then I have this line chart over here, and we're going to look at this over time and see how many rows has been queried over time. And just like that, I have a template that I can keep modifying, kind of move things around if I want to do that. See, I want this, I can remove it. Just kind of snag that back into place. There we go. And then you have this template already created, which is already has a pretty decent design to it. And you've kickstarted your dashboarding creation experience very easily with something that already looks very nice. And the data source I'm using here takes very good leverage of being live queries. I'm looking at queries, so I can change this to update every 5 seconds and say I put this on my monitor anywhere. Then this is going every 5 seconds, going to show the new data. So you see it just updated, and just like that, it's constantly being live, and constantly know that everything I'm looking at is, well, the data that sits in my warehouse. So I can just leave it like this, put it on a monitor, I glance over it, and I know it's always live. I just with a few clicks of a button, and it's all done. So moving forward, some stuff that's coming up later on in the workbook creation experience that we have in Astrato is the sheet layering management. So when you've created a lot of objects on your dashboard and you have lots of things everywhere, and someone tells you, yeah, but I want this, I want that, then you have a lot of objects on it. So be able to manage all these objects you have on your sheets and so on, and being able to copy them back and forth between different sheets. You have this layering system to do some quick actions, show and hiding, and keep working in these layers in a very easy and seamless way. So that's it for that. And moving forward, we're also looking at being able to embed different parts of what you have inside of your workbooks. So for example, you can embed the individual sheets or the individual objects inside of something that your users might be more familiar with. Well, we're looking at being able to provide that capability, and even being able to just take a few of these objects, like I just want 5 of these objects inside of the sheet and put them somewhere. Then you just do it at once inside of a group instead of having to do it with 5 individual objects, because that can get very tiresome very quickly. So being able to do that very quickly is something we're looking at adding down the road. And with that, I think you're all going to be very excited with what we have in the workbook creation experience moving forward. And I'm going to hand it over to Alex to talk a bit about what's happening on the platform front.
Well, thank you, Martin. And I just realized I probably look like the old PC versus Mac commercials in this white room and a black turtleneck, but I think we're all good. So I want to talk about the platform. So I mostly oversee sort of things that might be considered a little bit dry, a little bit boring, the things that aren't as visually appealing on the screen, but oh so important. So we mostly oversee things that are related to the platform. So things like authentication, authorization, security, making sure that your data actually stays secure within your tenants, and so on and so forth. So first of all, what I want to cover off today is what's available right now and what has shipped since the latest update. And that is the ability to do what we call enterprise authentication. Within the product today, you can already log in using various different social connections, such as Gmail or LinkedIn or username and password. But at some point, that isn't enough anymore. Maybe you work for a corporation that has security guidelines, or you're just fed up with having to invite people into Astrato. What you can do now is take the ability of connecting Astrato to your own internal user ID or your own company IDP, basically. So the protocol that we are supporting out of the box is called OpenID Connect, which is a layer that sits on top of OAuth 2.0. That allows you to set up Astrato so that when you log in, you can just log in with your normal username and password that you have for your laptop, your other corporate services. So there's no need anymore to remember additional username and passwords. Once this is set up, user provisioning is also done automatically for you. As long as you are a user for that IDP that you connect to, you're automatically granted access based on rules into Astrato. So no longer do you actually have to manage users inside of Astrato. So when a new joiner joins your company, they can automatically access the system. Or when an employee leaves your company, you can rest assured that they no longer have access to your Astrato workspace. So that is live now. You can all go and test it out. You'll find it inside of the product by navigating to the little administration section inside of Astrato. And from here, you can deep dive into the enterprise authentication section. And these are some of the connections that we support today. So we do support Google Workspace out of the box, but we also support OpenID Connect, which is a general purpose protocol. And that allows us to connect to vendors such as Azure AD or ID. We can also connect to Okta. We can connect to Salesforce, or whatever type of user identity provider that you might have that supports OpenID Connect, we can now integrate together with. Next up for us in this sector would be to look at additional protocols to support, such as SAML specifically, or if we wanted to support things like LDAP or local instances of legacy Active Directory installations. Moving forwards, that was things that has shipped already. So let's kind of like glimpse a little bit into the future and what we're working on currently. And that is to bring workflows into your tenant workspace or your Astrato workspace. And basically two key themes here. So the ability, since you're sitting very close to your data, you might want to be able to take something inside of your usage of Astrato, tie it to some data, or maybe automate some business processes. And that can be things that maybe you just want to set up something silly, like, yeah, every Monday morning, I want to run this contextualized query, loop over a set of users, for example, perform a query, extract some values, send an email, post a Slack, or send an SMS notification, for example. Or perhaps you wanted to react to events inside of the system. So you can build very silly things like your salespeople logs in, and if it's Monday morning, I want to run a query that checks their sales versus their quota, and if they're below quota, I want to send them a notification in application, for example. So all of these things you're able to do inside of platform workflows. But you can also use it to automate your development or your deployment, where if you have, for example, new users coming into the system, maybe you want them to send them a custom welcome email that contains your company's guidelines for working with data, or some getting started material that is very specific for how you guys work inside of Astrato. Or, for example, why not analyze on a schedule, for example, the number of data views that you have in the system. And if any of those data views contains tables that you have flagged as sensitive, they might contain GDPR information or personalized information. Maybe you want to set up an auditing workflow to automatically trigger your notification for your GDPR officer, for example. So the idea behind building workflows into the platform that sits very close to data, and then just making every event and schedules available to you with over 200 different apps that you could connect to if you want to, is that we'll kind of give you the tools, but it's going to be sort of the limit of your own imagination that will set the boundaries of how far you're going to take it. So that was short on the platform side. So new and exciting ways of authenticating into the system. And then we're going to now focus on being able to build workflows and adding additional authentication protocols into the platform. If we look at across all the different business lines that we currently have within Astrato, we're continuing on the roadmap. We're usually talking in terms of short, medium, and long term. So we don't usually commit to months or different dates. I should say, however, that with the pace of development that we have at Vislib, short term is usually measured in terms of weeks, and medium and long term is measured in months and not quarters or half years. So these are some of the items that we're looking to do across the board. So as we're looking into the analytics creation experience, I would say a very common theme is that we're looking to expand our breadth a little bit so that you can do more. But at the same time, we're also really looking into expanding our depth so that you can do more with what you already have, giving you even more knobs and whistles and checkboxes that you can play around with and really, really tailor that experience to whatever requirements your users might have. And the same goes in for the platform and the data view editor and connections. we're continuing on. I won't go into details on all of these, but hopefully you will get a little bit of a glimpse of what we're looking to do in both short and near term, as well as long term. And hopefully it looks interesting. If there's anything that you're missing, feel free to type it into the chat. Otherwise, I do think, Martin, do you have a Slido running?
We do, but before we move in to the Slido, well done. Was very, very excited to see everything again. Go back to the roadmap for a second. One slide back. Oh, cool. Yeah. So this is almost, at least personally for me, and for those of you who are on this call who've met me, who've spoken to me over the last years. I see Jonas Valskog is also online here. We know each other from Barclays time. That was more than 6-7 years ago. I mean, we're building the perfect BI tool for ourselves that we would have wanted to be able to use at all times. So this is really, 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 really exciting, and one of the most fulfilling jobs ever, to be able to be in this position to actually have a shot to build out these exciting things. So we're literally picking up topics from, be it Excel or other BI tools that we've seen and we like, and we build our very perfect own version. So yeah, the idea bank is huge. What we got to make sure is that, we need time to execute on those. But those of you who are familiar, as Alex mentioned, we're very, very quick, and we for sure will be. It is a main focus point at Vizlib. But yeah, I want to make sure, as always, as also in the world of Vizlib, one of the key parameters has always been what our customers want, and not just customers, but also the developer community. So at the end of the day, this is how I always establish, our product strategy, which is like, we deliver whatever our customers want, and we are able to deliver on. And with this, I do want and require and asking for your input. So yeah, we've created a Slido. So Slido is we can move over here. You go to slido.com. So you open up a new browser tab. You enter that unique identifier there. And yeah, we have a couple of roadmap items here that, you should vote. You can even, I think, reorder or rank them. But we'd love to hear kind of your input and, your ideas. Do participate. Don't be too shy. Other than that, Piers, maybe throwing a question to you. Working on visualizations for a couple of years at Vizlib, but now on Astrato for nearly a year. What is kind of like your favorite aspect about this, and anything fun and exciting that you can share?
Oh well, everything's fun in Astrato, but I must say there's been a lot more freedom working in our own space. Building out the visualizations from scratch gives us a lot more control. Our own properties panel, a lot of fun, a lot of challenges as well. But there's so much more that we can do to provide now. It feels like for the first time in BI, a really broad no-code experience.
Cool.
Looks like we've got some of the answers in.
That looks cool. Custom data in and out at the front run. And you know what? And that's an interesting one where please do write in the comments your thoughts and your posts and so on. There's this unsurmountable challenge of getting people to stop exporting to Excel. Every time you go, either you build a BI tool, be it in Power BI and Tableau or others, it's always a question of how do I export this to Excel? And as a matter of fact, one of our first beta customers at Astrato mentioned like 5 requirements, and we ticked off 4 of them. And then he said the 5th one is Excel in, Excel out. That needs to be in place for any serious analytics tool that we are taking into consideration. So yeah, we follow suit. Although we will not have any kind of layer where you store the data within Astrato, we would just reuse Snowflake as our layer we'll be inserting, the custom data in there. And no, I couldn't agree more. The last mile analysis is such an important aspect of any kind of analytics. And that's something where we take very, very, very deeply. Workflows. Congratulations, Alex. You win.
Yeah, with the ability to turn exporting off on a workspace level. So me and Martin are quite the opposite. He likes that, and I'm a very firm proponent of never letting data leave your business intelligence system, because that usually means you have I shouldn't say failed, but you probably haven't met your users' requirement to 100%. If they need to look at the data from different angles and join it onto different sources. So you'll always have the ability to toggle things off as well.
Yeah, and that's how typically a very heated debate ends. Is when you say, "No, that makes sense." No, it's like, all right, let's settle on let's agree to disagree, as long as there is a setting in the admin page that administration that takes it off entirely. That's how you find compromise. Cool. Congrats, Martin. Good call on the object management and layering. Very
Thank you.
first
Seems to
time,
be exciting.
So very first time, actually, when that was proposed, I was like, so what? That's I know that from Photoshop we have different layers that overlay, but you know what? How often were you working on any kind of BI tool and you had one sheet and you wanted to copy paste from one sheet to another sheet, and you had to change, copy, change back, copy again? You lost where's my object and so on. Having like a semantic overview that shows you where everything lies and being able to quickly do those things, invaluable. At the end of the day, this is how Figma works. So we're copying those aspects. It's one of the very popular tools internally. I'm not sure if we have a Figma example.
Being able to do some quick actions on it too is going to be key, I think.
Cool. Yeah.
Making a dashboard should be as easy as making a PowerPoint.
I'm deactivating this poll. Thank you for voting. I will ask one more last question, which is, have we missed anything? So so again, we'll have to be logged in there, but this one is a free text option. Open text protocol. So just, type in stuff, anything that's on your mind. It's anonymous. So we're looking forward to seeing that participation.
So if I throw the question back to you, Martin, what's your favorite feature currently within Astrato?
Obviously, I'm biased since I'm responsible for data view editor, so I'm going to say the auto join suggestion. I think that was one of the biggest hurdles. Like coming back from Click, where things connected based on the same field name, we kind of came to realize with Astrato that, okay, how do we connect things? It cannot just be the same field name, because you know what? In a SQL database or data warehouse, the field names are entirely different. So we literally export that, and with a fuzzy matching of the join suggestion, we managed to solve that very, very elegantly and bring back that seamless 5-minute experience of your non-techie users to being able to get to a workbook with multiple data sets without having to become very technical. Long-winded answer. A VR version. Clearly, that was David. Pivoting.
I thought so.
LDAP. But we have LDAP, no, Alex? Is that on roadmap?
No, it's still on the roadmap. So LDAP, there is a very big movement of moving to the cloud, not only within business intelligence, but within basically every software sector currently. And I would say one of the ones where we have seen significant movement already is within the identity space. So actually moving your user identities up into the cloud or into software that can communicate with the cloud. So if you, for example, would have a LDAP store that would have been accessible on the web to be able to integrate with other third-party software that also lives within the cloud, then that's definitely something we're going to do.
Cool. I see writebacks coming up. It is going to be our key pillar of Astrato. It's not there today just yet. It was a prioritization call, because we feel writeback becomes relevant once you already have your dashboards. So unless we have already all the dashboarding capabilities in place, writeback, you will never get to the point to start implementing writeback. However, it is going to be part of our core pillars. As a matter of fact, the ability to upload CSV files into a Snowflake schema is a very, very rudimentary form of an insert. So you see where this is going, that we will very, very easily expand that very same technical capability to write back use cases. But I think that would be powerful and possible because we don't have a reload cycle.
And there was mention of time travel support. So if you want to remember and recall what was previously entered before write back, yeah, you could use time travel, and that's something that we've talked about having in a later version of the filter feedback bar. So we could see time travel one day soon.
Cool. Two interesting things: row level user access control. So basically reducing the data set based on which user is logging in. Alex, you want to talk on that?
Sure. So I would say there's two aspects to it, and we can achieve it in two different ways, where we're going to support both of them. So part of that is to be able to perform what's called pass-through authentication onto Snowflake, so that when I log into Astrato, that my identity can be then passed down onto my database. Because then the databases that exist today can actually do that initial reduction, so that you only get access to the data that your user are allowed to see. So that is something that will ship in the very, very near term. In addition to that, I would say where it's the ability to reduce information based on some inputs that could be user-based, for example. And that is where we're looking to ship something called data slices, where you have the ability to set up either on a sheet level or on a full workbook level, the ability to reduce the initial data set based on a one set of parameters or a combination of multiple parameters. And that can also be used to do kind of lightweight security, if you want to call it like that, but also to be able to do where you want to narrow down the data set, because you can only look at it at a certain dimension, for example. So I built a workbook that only analyzes one country at a time. So I need to make sure that my users pick a country when they open it, for example. So those are the two different aspects of pass-through authentication, but also data slices.
Cool. Yeah. So default selections in the Vislive world. So yeah, one question there was around query inspection, query performance. So what's possible already today, I just want to make sure everybody's aware of it. You can choose a chart and you can always see the data query insights underneath it. At the moment, just how long it took for round robin and how many rows of data it resulted to. But you can always click here, which will immediately take you right into Snowflake. Okay, there's a bad example. I think I have another one here. Yep, that's the one I created earlier. And data query insights takes you right into Snowflake. And it opens up actually that query that got executed. So if that query, for whatever reason, is slow, is wrong, something's happening with the results not going as expected, you can come in back here and you can see it executed within the world of Snowflake, and you can actually see the whole profile, which query. If, in this case, it was within one single table, but if it's join, if it's view, you can see exactly where it's coming from, how it's being executed, so you get the full power of the Snowflake. And that will forever be our philosophy around Astrato, which is we're pushing down the query logic to Snowflake and let data compute closer to where the compute is, basically, and we just present the results, right? So with this, in this case, all we will do is refer back to Snowflake, have a look in there. And query performance will always be a topic.
And in addition to this, the modern database vendors, Snowflake included, has the ability to send down metadata information whenever you do queries. So from Astrato, we will be able to set what's called query parameters or query tags, so that you can also track across your entire instance, which queries in Snowflake is being generated by Astrato. And then if you wanted to drill even further down, you can even see which assets inside of Astrato are generating these queries and through which users and so on and so forth. So if you're responsible for monitoring, for example, your credit consumption within Snowflake, you could easily build a dashboard inside of Astrato to actually look at your consumption levels inside of Snowflake and then narrow it down if you have a rogue query that isn't perhaps as optimized as it should be.
Cool. Yeah, and by the way, kind of reminder again, Astrato is live. It's free to explore and to use for up to 5 users. No credit card needed, no time trial, no 30 days trial, and a BDR calls you. We may still contact you, but probably because we want to hear what you like or don't like about this and to get closer to this. But proper, more freemium model where you can explore things on your own. Regarding write-back, absolutely, I see the value massively. It is going to be huge. It's just that we wanted to have dashboarding capabilities, some of the creator things in place first. How is it going to work from a technical perspective? What you will have within Snowflake is you will have one schema that will be a write schema. And in there, people will be able to create new tables, insert data in new tables, and thereafter you can then join them for your visualization purposes thereafter. This is nothing different to what we're already doing today within the world of Vislib and Writeback, where you're writing to CSV files in a folder which has write access, and then you blend the data during your joins back. So we've seen this already proven. Fantastic use cases such as commenting, adjustments, simulations, changing query parameters of forecasting models, as well as controlling certain aspects and generally turning your read-only analytics apps into analytical applications in general. And I think that is a huge potential in market, step by step, but definitely for our roadmap here, mid to short term. And again, the data will be stored in Snowflake within the dedicated write schema. Again, we don't never suggest changing the source, just to be clear. Cool. Wonderful. So almost on time. I think we exceeded 6 minutes, but it was definitely a fun live session, interactive. Takes away the stress of, okay, I have to prepare it. I have to have a streamlined, perfect presentation. I like that interactivity and the spontaneity of this style. Also interactivity, the comments, thank you so very much about them. Do try out Astrato, explore it, test it. You can either use Snowflake data or Google Sheets. And, as always, we're open for you. Reach out to us. One very important feature I forgot to mention is if you ever struggle continuing within Astrato and you don't know, have a question, there's a chat here at the bottom right. You can pop it up. You can literally not email us and wait for a day. You can generally come in here and start texting. You can send us a message and you can say, "Hi, Astrato, I got a very good idea." I'm testing the support team now. But in general, you'll be able to share stuff, share screen stuff if you want, and get a better in-live support experience. So with this, thank you very, very much. Do explore it. And yeah, you will be having more of these sessions, more examples, more features. Follow us. It'll be very, very exciting. And especially as we approach Writeback, I think that'll be like an inflection point almost for Astrato, if not already, because at the end of the day, yeah, we play the data where it lives, on top of Snowflake. Any data, big data, billions of rows of data, doesn't matter. Snowflake does the job. We just visualize it. Real time, operational analytics. So with this, do explore it and, stay tuned for all the action that we have ahead of Christmas even already, but more so in the next year. We're all in to the moon, as some people say. Other than that, thank you so much for attending and follow us.